Um, good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Um, this is TheRyupichu. In the voice, this is actually my first time actually recording the voice. I kind of don't know what to say because this is actually legit my first time doing a recording like this with my voice involved with it. This video is not going to be edited. This video is not going to be how to put it, like, it's, I think I think it's just raw, uncut, because this is kind of more of a thing I'm kind of concerned about. And the main thing I'm kind of concerned about is the release of 2020, spring of 2020, for the PSO2 West, finally, after all these years. But for the past couple of months, and I know I'm a bit late on this, there was maybe like two videos roaming around about a person that has been spewing out a bit of misinformation about the classes, and I am well aware that he has good intentions, but I don't think he's going about it the right way. I'm well aware that people were giving him warnings about this, and I fear that when Etole or Star comes out, which is like towards the end of the year, he might make a video about that and might be spreading a bit of misinformation, depending on how Etoile is being handled. The reason why I am making this is because I am rather concerned about people who, like, down the line in April 2020, you know, if people will come to this video, this person probably would make a lot more money than originally intended, and a lot of people will be dead with a bunch of the misinformation that this guy is saying. I am going to critique these two videos to voice my concerns about it, and I will also put in like a conclusion, like anything that may voice my concerns, anything I feel like the community should do to help better prepare newcomers who have like a Fantasy Star Online 1 or Universe background that don't know that much about the game, or people who are just fresh into the series as a whole. Because I fear that if no one like makes a video to voice the concerns, or if nobody like fully points the shit out that I'm going to try and point them out as best of my ability, I feel like he's gonna keep on doing this, and it's probably may get worse to some extent. Now I'm gonna be a little bit harsh because I do have a bit more grasp with the game, since I have been playing for a good 3 years, going to be 4 soon, and I have indeed played a good majority of the class to grasp that I can have a bit of an understanding. I guess in this time, since it's kind of nighttime around my place, I'm just gonna go and start critiquing the videos. So let me just start with this video, and we're just gonna watch it, see how it goes.
A new game can be daunting with the amount of Googling and research on the class you want to play, and I'm here to make the process a lot easier for you. To note, this is targeted for the newer PSO2 players excited about the Western release, so I'm going to be briefing the 9 standard classes with more advanced class guides in the future. Now, what's amazing about PSO2 is you're not bound to one single class, and by simply talking to B, the class counter attendant, you can change your class at any time, even right from the start. Now, it is super important to know when you first start the game, in the character creation menu, you can't select fighter, gunner, or Techer. But immediately
Techer.
when you log into the
Gotta
game, you
pronounce
can.
that
This is because in
correctly,
the past,
actually.
those 3 classes had to be unlocked by completing a thing called client orders, which in a future video I'll be explaining.
No, I don't. You don't have to unlock the remainder of the classes. Besides Hero and Phantom, once you enter the game, once you go and actually go up to the front of the class desk, all the original classes, all the regular classes are indeed available to you.
Starting off with the Hunter is a melee class using swords, partisans, and wired lances. In general, these weapons are a bit slower but have a huge range. Now, tanking in PSO2 really isn't an important role compared to other games, but out of every standard class, they're going to be the most tankiest. They have skills like Iron Will, which gives you a chance to survive a lethal attack with 1 HP, and Massive Hunter, which reduces all damage taken by 1% and even prevents flinching or getting knocked down, essentially. Now, even though Hunters have a ton of defensive abilities, they're still excellent as a damage class. When it comes to combat, Hunters focus on JAing for most of their damage. Now, you're probably thinking, what's JAing? That's such a weird term. JA stands for Just Attack. When you're attacking, sometimes you'll notice a red circle around your character. By hitting the attack button when it procs, you'll be able to perform a Just Attack. A Just Attack is essentially just a timed attack or a combo, which rewards the player with more damage output. Now back to the Hunter. They're actually a really strong subclass due to most of their powerful skills not needing a main class to use.
Sadly, Hunter is pretty much currently is a universal, sadly to say. But I will probably mention that, the reason why, towards the end of my critique. But let's continue.
Now, as a main class, I think they're just a little bit weaker than the others.
A little bit weaker.
The Fighter is the strong subclass due to most of their powerful skills not needing a main class to use. Now, as a main class, I think they're just a little bit weaker than the...
Kinda. But Hunter's still relatively strong as a main class. Anyways, especially if you're using Sword and Partisan. Cause, oh my goodness, I'm not a Hunter main, so there's not much I could kind of say about it, but I have played to an extent where if you chain in certain PAs, like there's one Partisan PA where you could literally shoot a projectile, and then there's and you could if you follow up with the one that you just stab, that's the projectile, create a shitload of damage. I don't know the PA for the top of my head, but with the right stuff, with the right equipment, with the right combos, Hunter can be a pretty dangerous class.
The others. The Fighter is the glass cannon of PSO2, meaning it has remarkable offense power, but is super risky to play. Now, this is because of the Fighter's circumstantial abilities it has, like boosting the Fighter's damage if it stays at low HP, or even sometimes having to be afflicted with a negative status effect to do damage. You could compare the Fighter to a rogue from other games. The Fighter is going to be the best main class for S-attack focused builds. Being S-attack
kind of beg to differ, but that is indeed true. But the main thing, I mean, if he doesn't mention about the stances, I will mention it as well.
Is what PSO2 uses to calculate melee damage. They use Twin Daggers, which is strong for single target damage and even stabilizes you in the air. Knuckles for strong single targets on the ground, which is a little slower but still powerful. And Double Sabers for strong AoE, doing cool things just like this whirlwind attack here. The Ranger, of course,
Okay. So, what he doesn't mention is that if you truly want to make Fighter the best it can, lower your health, the much more stronger he's gonna your fighter is gonna be. A spell as well as a skill called Limit Break, where you can literally throw out like a good chunk of your health for a short amount of time, and literally you could go ham on the said enemy or enemies. depending on the situation. He also hasn't mentioned there's two stances. There's one stance where you deal damage on the front, and there's another stance that does damage on the side. Now, me personally, they also uses they're also good as a subclass, because the stances also accumulate if you use fire as a subclass. So it is good to have in my honest opinion, since I don't play much of fighter, and fighter, I'm not a fan of fighter, but it is best to like keep hitting the enemy in front as much as consistent as possible. Hitting it from the side is a little bit annoying, but the main gist of it is like try and stay alive. I'm pretty surprised he doesn't mention the actual important stances, as well as like PP Slayer. There's one that boosts your damage if you're afflicted with a status effect. I'm pretty surprised he doesn't mention those skills, but he has mentioned Iron Will and Hunter. Let's continue.
Ranged class. They are one of the most important classes in the game, especially for boss killing. This is because of their damage enhancing skill, Weak Bullet. Now, Weak Bullet marks a spot on the enemy as a weak point. Any attack that hits this weak point gets a massive damage bonus.
That's correct.
Now, Rangers use assault rifles for single target damage, along with launchers for AoE damage. The Gunner is a ranged class, focusing on mobile.
Not okay. Stylish Rose gonna go up close and personal range. I mean, that's a damn lie. The last one, that's a damn lie. Again, Gunner I have played a shitload of, and I will say Gunner is actually pretty freaking good with AoE. Shift period being one of those, and if you have the current Lumamech TMG, that can be pretty stupid broken if you just keep spamming it. As well as its level 85 skill, where if you do an S roll after you do a PA into an S roll, which I kind of recommend Grim Barrage, it's pretty good to cover a hell of a lot of ground, taking care of a lot of enemies like that. Now I know Sega is trying to nerf it to an extent, but jeez, what am I trying to say? What he's trying to say is that Gunner's not that good with AoE. Gunner's actually pretty freaking good with AoE. Gunner's actually pretty freaking good in covering a lot of ground, especially if you're on the air and there's a bunch of enemies. This is also pretty good for like if you're farming, especially like ultra hard. It's pretty freaking good. Gunner is really good for AoE, as well as good for PP management when you use instead level 85 skill. Again, I remember Sega kind of mentioning that they're trying to lessen or loosen it up a bit, but that is pretty much, that's like the first of the misinformations he pretty much mentioned. And up close and personal, that is indeed true, but also I feel there's like one skill, one PA called Elder Rebellion, which I kind of consider like a far away. Like if you're doing chain trigger, and you can't really reach it up close, at least you can try and snipe it from afar as best as you can, really. So let's continue.
Close range combat. They have several skills which grant damage bonuses for fighting at point blank range, while also offering survivability with stylish rolls, granting the Gunner with invulnerability. Now, Gunners only use one weapon, which is the twin machine guns. Because of this, Gunners actually lack AoE, but make up for it with their strong single target damage, notably Chain Trigger, which
again, Gunner's pretty fucking strong with AoE when done right with AoE. Granted, there's only very few AoE PAs, but Shift Period is like the best one. It's pretty freaking good as well to cover a lot of ground.
Provides a massive damage multiplier after a long chain of regular attacks.
Which
now,
max
due
out
to
on
AoE lacking, players could opt for weapons that aren't Gunner specific to patch the hole, like launchers or gun slashes.
Your ass forgot rifles. You forgot rifles. Ish. But that's if you're running gunner ranger. But that legit that combo's pretty much long been dead. Like the only thing you could do with that combo per se is just like gravity bomb. That's about it. Aside from that combo is pretty much long dead.
Force is a damage-focused tech class. In PSO2, tech is just a fancy word for mana, or magic. Think of Force as a spellcaster or a mage. Now, I would say Force is one of the more challenging classes in the game, with an emphasis of understanding damage modifiers, movement with such little utility, and needing multiple weapons with different elements to be at their best. The Force class uses two different weapons, rods and taluses. Rods allow you to cast tech from your own position, while taluses have you throw cards to your desired destination and
No one uses taluses in
PSO2
unless
The
Sega
Tetcher is a
changes it or you're using
utility-focused tech
hero.
class. They carry a lot of supportive abilities
Oh shoot!
to your
He
design.
actually didn't freaking mention this. Okay, so Force is yes, he is. It is correct. Force is indeed one of the more difficult classes to learn because of the fact that not only do you have to position yourself, because you have to know ahead of time what your enemies are going to do. You also have to learn about crafting. Crafting for techs is, I can say, abysmal because how long it takes, and you have to make sure you have to get the right RNG, because crafting in PSO2 is RNG based. You have to keep crafting in order for you to get it, and it can take a while. Every single tech in PSO2 can be craftable, but it depends on your playstyle, and as well as how much charge time, how much PP photon points is it gonna take, how much damage it's gonna do, etc., etc. I can say yes, it kind of has low utility, but that's more like Shifter, the band, Megaverse, Xanverse. That's about it, really. Oh yeah, and Anti. And you don't. I mean, in the beginning, yes, you're gonna need multiple different rods or taluses if you're still using talus for this day. Which, if you're not running hero, you shouldn't be using talus at all, unless you're gonna go with something unorthodox. But for rods, you may need a lot of rods with different elements. But as you progress through the end of the game, you're only gonna need at least probably one or two, just because of how there's a skill. I forgot the name of it, but it does cover all the bases for all the text in terms of bonus damage. That used to be on a one rod I think back in episode 4 for EPD, and then they just kind of nerfed that and just distributed for all rods. But again, Force is very glass cannon. Very glass cannon. The only main subclass I can use is only Tekker. Sadly, I've seen people run Force with Fighter and Force with Hunter, kind of unorthodox, but it doesn't. Sadly, as much as I kind of like off meta builds, sadly you kind of are indeed forced with Force Tekker, sadly, because of the fact that they're kind of it goes hand in hand with the synergy with both of their classes. Um, as I said, maybe in the beginning you're gonna need a lot of rods or a lot of chalices, but as you progress through the game, as you hit end game, you're only going to need one or two rods at best to cover the majority of your playing field, covering a lot. Let's
Desired
continue.
destination and then allowing you to cast tech from its location. The Tetcher is a utility-focused
Again, Tekker. But let's continue.
tech class. They carry a lot of supportive abilities, like
That's
increasing
true.
PP regen, while also being able to deal a fair bit of damage.
That's true.
Specializing in melee attacks, Tetchers use wands, which enable them to deal with mobs efficiently, especially if they use a tech called Zondeal, which pulls targets into one place. Wands are a unique S-attack and T-attack hybrid weapon, with each basic attack causing a tech explosion upon impact. Of course, if you have the correct gear for it. What's amazing to note is their damage scales with how many enemies they're attacking. Braver is a flexible S-attack.
Okay, so Tekker, that is true. The Tekker is indeed a pretty good support, but due to how most people kind of tend to treat it, it's pretty good with high damage. I will say that it's good with crowd control as well as single targeted enemies. I have seen people run Tekker pretty crazily good, especially an endgame where you have to, due to how Tekker is kind of set up, where you have to combo, like chain in techs one after the other consistently, over and over. And if you want to get your PP back, you got to keep hitting them. You have to hit harder. But I would say, yeah, Tekker does deal like a hell of a lot of damage. But Sega is trying to strain away from the supportive building, passing it over to Bouncer, which I feel that's kind of a bit stupid, because Tekka has a bunch of like supportive, like there's like a level 85 skill where you don't even have to like run up to your teammates to go and like give them shifter and will buff them up. Basically, you can just do it at a pretty far distance and they'll still get in. There's a few other supportive skills that Tekka is really good, but as what I've seen from endgame, most people will just use Tekka for damaging purposes.
Explosion upon impact. Of course, if you have the correct gear for it. What's amazing to note is their damage scales with how many enemies they're attacking. Braver is a flexible S-attack and R-attack class. The playstyles of each archetype differ greatly with each weapon they use. Bravers use katanas, which is the Braver's S-attack melee weapon. The katana focuses on fast mobile combat with a huge emphasis on just guards to enhance their attack. Now, just guards are equivalent to just attacks. Instead, at this time, we're doing a time block instead. Bravers also have a very safe playstyle due to combat escape, giving them 20 seconds of invulnerability during katana combat. However, adversely, this puts them on the weaker side on the scale of melee weapons.
Excuse me? Oh, okay. Now we're getting to the spicy part. No, actually. This doesn't put them in the weaker end of fucking melee. As I myself as a braver main, I can attest to the fact that katana can be pretty freaking strong if you know what the heck you're doing, and if you have your loadout correctly and right. Braver can be pretty devastating as a katana. As for bow, now I don't play a lot of bow. I know there's a few bow users out there who may know more about this area than I do. I rarely use bows when I use Braver, but the reason why is because as you progress with Braver, there's a split. This was Sega's first attempt at the hybrid, and it wasn't really well executed. So literally, at the end, you're kind of split between: do you want to run as katana or do you want to run as bow? Because of how the skill tree is set up, and I wish that Sega could place in more skill trees. I mean, not skill trees, more skills, like a lot more skills for us to distribute the skill points for Braver, because how it's set up is pretty freaking ridiculous. Because you're kind of forced to just play one or the other at the end of the day. You can't choose two. You cannot. And both classes are actually good for, both weapons are actually pretty good for boss killing, regardless. Just so long as you know the weapon per se, you know who you're facing up against, then yeah, that's what I feel. But it's not weak. But katana's not weak.
The bow is the R-attack weapon for the Braver. Killing mobs with a bow is fairly weak, but it excels in boss killing, with a heavy focus on burst damage. The Bouncer is an S-attack and...
Hang on. But I will say this. Um, again, bows is also not weak. Again, both weapons are actually pretty freaking strong when done right, and especially with if you're doing like fire control for a bow, then yeah, it can get pretty spicy with the damage. I will say that. But let's continue.
Weapon for the braver. Killing mobs with a bow is fairly weak, but it excels in boss killing, with a heavy focus on burst damage. The Bouncer is an S-attack and T-attack hybrid class that uses two different weapons, jet boots and dual blades. Respectively, they both have two very different playstyles. Though this class is a hybrid, most players tend to specialize in one weapon type. Jet boots are more inclined towards AoE compared to dual blades, but still manage to do boss killing quite well. This playstyle also focuses on exploiting your enemy's elemental weakness through elemental stance, giving you the ability to change your element. Dual blades have high and sustainable single target DPS, with the help of
Ugh. Okay. Dual blades is actually the weaker melee melee weapon. It's weaker. I unless you've used the recent the newest dual blades, the rank 15 dual blades. Dual blades in general is kind of weak, but investing time in it is very daunting. If you don't have the right weapon for if you specifically spec onto dual blades, then you're gonna need a rainbow set, and rainbow sets are like all the elements within the game that you're gonna have to invest in. Unless you have a specific weapon that just covers all the grounds, then you're fine. But if that's not the case, then you're screwed. Jet boots are are indeed inclined to AoE, but at the same time, it also has some pretty decent sometimes useful utility, which I'm surprised he doesn't mention. Because of the fact that like let's say you got a techer and you have a bouncer, and they're playing they out to just help you out. They bouncer could put up his weak his I think there was one ring there was like one ring skill that boosts up like weak damaging parts or whatnot. I could be totally wrong, and I could always check in game, and then you could get shift with either Tekka or jet boots, and jet boots are actually pretty freaking good, especially if you don't have if your class doesn't have access to a bouncer. I mean to jet boots, you can use one. And there's one PA that just instantly gives you shift there anyway, so jet boots is pretty good for that. But I am still surprised that Sega has given the support role to Bouncer rather than just keeping it how it was with Tekker.
photon blades for most of their damage. Combined with photon blade fever, you can seriously pack some crazy DPS. The Summoner is a pet class that was added in episode 4. Currently, I'm unsure if this class is going to be made available right away when PSO2 comes to the West. So if you do know, let me know down below.
I mean, they did kind of say that all content now is a bit vague on how they were saying it. That oh hey, all the content's gonna come into the West, but we just don't know yet. And ever since they revealed in the E3, we still haven't heard anything. No information coming out for it either. So let's just continue with the video.
Now this class can use any attack type through the usage of its switch skills. However, most players use T-attack to conserve SP. Instead of weapons as their main source of damage, summoners use pets. Each pet has different strengths and weaknesses along with their own unique playstyle. Pets are highly customizable with the use of candy, which adds damage bonuses, stats, and other attributes. Each pet also has a unique candy box that isn't shared with other pets, therefore making it a little bit more difficult to gear properly. Make sure to turn on notifications and check back, as I'm now only focusing on content for PSO2, getting ready right for that Western release in spring 2020. I also plan on streaming PSO2's soon on Twitch, so if you haven't followed, my link will be down in the description below. With that said, see you on the next one.
So he again, he kind of spews of quite a bit of misinformation on the classes. That does concern me yet again greatly, because of the fact that if someone comes in without no circulation about the game or yellow in the series, they could probably get misinformed with this. I don't think I personally believe if, especially for PSO2, if you have not spent or maxed out a class enough, or if you haven't like invested a lot of time, and when I mean a lot of time, remember each class has their own playstyle and you have to invest a lot of time within each of those set classes. It's not easy, especially even if you say like, oh, I'll start X class is easy. If you want to dive deeper into it, it's gonna get pretty freaking difficult. But again, it kind of does concern me greatly. And I don't know what to really say. This was pretty controversial within the community, and I could pretty much see a pretty good reason why. If he give me pumping up more content, I think he should kind of like understand more what he's getting himself into, rather than just blowing it out. If you're not gonna be like giving up pretty good information, because he just kind of gets it small, but he doesn't go really in depth, not in the slightest. So let's go into the second video. Let's go.
Online 2 player, or a returning Phantasy Star Online player from the Dreamcast and GameCube days, you're probably thinking to yourself, what's a subclass? Disclaimer, I want you to keep in mind this video is targeted towards new Phantasy Star Online 2 players trying to understand the game and seeing if it's for them. My goal is to make easily digestible content without you reaching information overload and turning you away. With that—
oh yeah, I just freaking realized he also has never ever I mean, I think he said just reverting about the general classes in the previous video, but I think it would be nice to let the easy player in about the advanced classes if they want to work for that. But let's continue.
With that in mind, you'll find more in-depth guides from me in the future, but to build the groundwork up, you can expect beginner, intermediate, and finally advanced videos, which I'll be specifying which is which in the description. Upon hitting level 20 in any class and completing the subclass client order from Coffee, you're able to choose any subclass from B at the class change counter. Now, if you haven't seen my which class to choose video, I highly recommend watching that video first, which will be linked on the top right, as it'll give you the basis to easily follow along in this video. A subclass is a secondary class chosen to augment a character's main class. Now, to preface this, your main class has a skill tree, allowing you to create different builds depending on the style of play that you're going for. And yes, in the future I will be going over skill trees. What's important to know here is upon unlocking the subclass, you're actually given a second skill tree, allowing you to have access to the subclass's photon arts or skills. I say some, as some skills and PAs are main class weapon restricted.
Also, if you're also using a subclass, you may or may not have access to their weapons unless you have indeed crafted a specific weapon for you to use it for that said class.
Unfortunately, you cannot equip your subclass.
And the way he's playing Gunner, however, that's not a good idea. Hang on,
as some skills and PAs are main class.
You don't want to do that. I would only say you might want to like backflip then shoot if you feel like the enemy is actually getting close to you, but he's not getting close to you.
You cannot equip your subclass's weapon. However, some weapons are actually
if you're using satellite aim, it's best for you to actually do it in the air. It's a lot quicker. The animation is a lot quicker.
I say some, as some skills and PAs are main class weapon restricted. Unfortunately, you cannot equip your subclass's weapon. However, some weapons are actually multi-class. For example, this 13-star bow allowing it to be equipped by the fighter,
which I would say that looks like a PSO2 ES only weapon. Never ever seen that. But you can, some weapons you can use, like as example was shown here, but you can also extend it further as, again, if like currently, with the new type rank 13s, pretty sure you can be able to like give them more access to the other classes that may not use it too well, or there are weapons in the game that just grants it to all classes. They'll just have a set PA or set tech already out for them.
Ranger, Force, and Braver. Another benefit of being able to use a subclass is 20%.
You're not using Grim Barrage, sir? Okay, if you already have Grim Barrage in your thing, in your PA loadout, use that instead of walking. It makes things a lot better, unless you don't have a big PP pool.
Class's stats are also added to your character's base stats. Now, some of you may wonder, if your subclass level is higher than your main class, does that 20% still carry over? The answer to that is yes. However, the subclass would then be manipulated and on par with your main class's level. So for example, if your main class is a level 1 hunter and your subclass is a level 35 techer, 20% of the techer's stat boost would reflect that of a level 1 techer. Of course, this follows suit, so when you level your main class, and in this example the hunter, the techer's value would then represent that of a techer at level 2. Now this portion of the video is going to briefly summarize the current popular builds, thanks to the amazing team on the Fantasy Starfleet Discord server. Put together is this awesome...
Now I remember watching this video previously, and I will tell you, don't do this. Don't do this. You're falling off, which the majority of them are indeed dead builds, because of the fact of how Sega pretty much tends to nerf the classes. And I know right now they're not nerfing the classes, but they have in the past, they have indeed killed off certain builds because of how broken they were, as well as it's mostly because of the fact that they're broken per se, and they're not and no one really run them anymore. I will point out which ones are indeed dead after the post episode 4 patches leading to episode 5, because that's when they started killing. Well, that's why I noticed that they started killing off a nice chunk of like good class combinations. And I don't like the fact that now like most people just restricting to now like meta builds, because of the fact it just kind of destroys the unorthodox non-meta build that still can hold you a good amount at endgame. And I hope and I wish that Sega can think about it down the line, and as well as give each class a lot more skills to work with, so then they don't have to keep running down the same build as everyone else, because that's pretty much what everyone's doing nowadays, sadly.
Some Google Sheets document with links to the build's skill tree, a brief description, and most importantly, the author who put the hard work into making them. Now of course, PSO2 is ever evolving, so if these builds become outdated, or if anything changes, I'll update you down below. And yes, as well, this document will be linked in my description for you to go ahead and check out yourself. You'll notice some of the builds highlighted in green and orange. The builds in green signify they're updated to level 90, with orange representing work in progress builds pre-level 90 patch. Now each class along with their popular subclass builds will be timestamped down below in my pinned comment for you to skip around easily on which class you want to check out. Here are the popular builds for the hunter.
That is indeed true. Both of these are fine. Hunter Fighter, Hunter Phantom are pretty good. Both of them are strong in their own way. And that's about it, sadly.
The fighter?
Fighter hunter, fighter bouncer. I'm kind of a little bit iffy on the fighter bouncer part. Just a little bit iffy. Maybe because I don't really use. I've only kind of used this for leveling purposes, but I've never ever used it for like to take things seriously. Because yet again, I'm not a fan of fighter. Not a fan of the class really, but I know other people who are a fan of the class. The only time I'll use fighter is if it's used as a subclass for like gunner, but like gunner or fighter. I mean, not gunner and braver. Just as an example.
The ranger?
Okay, ranger hunter, yes. Ranger fighter, very glass cannon. Very glass cannon, but I don't think you don't want to run ranger fighter, mainly because of how fast the tempo the game is and how slow ranger is. It's not a good idea to even run ranger fighter. Now there might be someone out there that's running ranger fighter for the raw damage, as well as the bonuses that you get through fighter, and place that with weak bullet. Sounds pretty good, but again, you're kind of putting yourself as a pretty bad spot, especially where current content is like the tempo is getting faster and faster, and ranger is still in I can say a episode 1 through 3 section where the game used to be slow. So I feel like ranger is still stuck in time in terms of like speed and agility to get them out farther away in harm's way. Ranger braver. I don't know anyone that runs that, and I don't recommend anyone running ranger any sub because ranger techer is not that good. Ranger Force yet again is not that good. Ranger Summoner, I don't know about that. There's a good chunk of Ranger X classes that either were killed off by Sega or not gonna hold you any good. It's not really a good idea. And I would love to say any sub would be good, but again, because of how certain classes are set up, they're not gonna work well as subclasses or how Sega has been adjusting the classes over time. So it's not a good idea.
The gunner?
Gunner hunter, good. Gunner fighter, good. Gunner ranger, okay. Gunner ranger, as I mentioned previously, is okay as an ant class, but at the same time, is mostly just like R attack stacking. But it's not. But aside from that, yeah, you do have access to weak bullet. That's like a good thing, but you'll have to be on your ranger. You have to use like a rifle. And also another good thing is that gravity bomb and stun grenade also exist. So that's pretty good to stun enemies, throw their gravity bomb, suck all the enemies in, and do it like that. But it's only kind of good for like R attack stacking, nothing more. Gunner Bouncer is an unorthodox class, and I kind of go forward with that because you are indeed risking. You're just throwing out damage just for more utility in the end. For Bouncer, you're going to need a specific jet boots to try and make this work. You can let me just go into PSO2 because I do have gunner. Let me see. Okay, so Star Star Blizz is is what you may need for this build, since this pod is like PP recovery rate boosted by 30% during attack. So like let's say you're low on PP, you might need this, or you can go run with the blood react. There I know which does gives you shift as well as the other one. But for Starbuzz, you just need to make sure that this is crafted, and you need to have a gunner equipped with it. Aside from that, just run with any TMG that you need. But the main gist of it is that you're going to need to have you're just kind of just throwing away damage from more utility at the end of the day. So let me just go back. Gunner Summoner, that's the dead class. That used to be the most popular class combination because of Melon. Melon is a pet that if when you absorb a lot of damage, it grows bigger and bigger. And if you use Chain Trigger and then you use Melon as the last attack, I kind of refer as the Allah Akbar build because of the fact that it used to literally 1 to 2 shot EQ bosses, and it was to the point where the Sega was just like, just put in the damage limit and nerfed the ever living daylights out of both Gunner and Summoner in post episode 4 into episode 5, which single-handedly just killed the class. So the fact that you want to use Gunner Summoner now, probably not a good time, because that build is pretty much dead.
Force?
Force Tekker, Force Phantom. I would say Force Phantom is actually pretty good because there's a skill for Phantom that if you have the higher the PP, higher damage. Higher the PP, higher the damage. And Force really does need a pretty freaking good like PP pool in order for them to do what they have to do. But you are indeed very glass cannon. Very, very glass cannon. Force Tekker, just standard, stacks up the attack and it just synergizes well. Force Summoner, I don't know anyone that runs Force Summoner unless you specifically run and just T attack. I don't know anyone else that runs that class per se. I'm kind of a little bit iffy on that. I do know Force Fighter kind of works. But again, glass cannon, and that's yet again another unorthodox build. I mean, if you want to try it out. But it's not a good idea to try and run that. But that's just me. Let's continue.
Tekker?
Tekker Hunter, that's fine. Tekker Phantom, that's fine. Tekker Phantom is actually pretty freaking good. Tekker Ranger, not a good idea. I understand you want to run. That sounds like a pretty good support. Same thing like Switcheroo Tekker Ranger. Ranger Tekker, not a good idea. Tekker Summoner, that's again very similar to like Cow Forces. That's not bad. Tekker Force, that's a no. Because Force does not have a lot of subclass builds, of subclass skills. It is mainly be used as a main class and main class only. That is not a good idea. You're better off just running as Force Tekker than Tekker Force. That's not a good idea. But let's just say, Sega puts in like more skills to make like more subclass skills, then I'd say, okay, that seems fine, but that doesn't feel right because of how Force is set up.
The Braver.
And that's where I'm gonna have to stop you there, buddy. Braver Hunter is not the only build. You can run, and this pisses me off because this thing is universally told that you should run Braver Hunter, but Braver Fighter is actually good. Braver Phantom, which I run, is also pretty freaking good because of the one main thing, and I'm gonna show you real quick. Let me just switch that out. Give me a second. Let me just check that out. Just hearing that alone just pissed me off, really. I don't like that at all. Saying that, I mean, yes, I get it. It's kind of like what most people are universally saying, but that's not the case. And also, I did do a video of Braver Phantom, so I'm going to go and tell you why. I'm going to switch. Give me a second. As you can see, you still need to use your dex skill. I mean your dex only mag, because of the fact that both Braver and Phantom uses dex. That's gonna stack over, and that just gives you like straight up raw damage. Like it's at 4,000 right now, 4,174. If I change it to my S attack, that's only gonna give me 3,963. So yes, you are. This is indeed yet another glass cannon build, since Phantom really doesn't have a lot of defensive skills, really, per se. There's like a couple, but that's about it. But Braver Phantom is actually pretty freaking good as a katana. Braver Ranger is also good if you're running bow. That's only if you're running bow. I mean, you can also run Braver Hunter and still use bow. But I feel like to me personally, if you're running Braver and you're running bow, you kind of would like to use it. Oh yeah, going back to Checker Braver was also a pretty good combination. That was, in my honest opinion, the best way when I used to run it back in episode 4. You know, suck enemies in and just smack them across the face with weak stance. You know, that was pretty freaking good. But again, that's been killed. Afterwards, no one really uses that anymore. I really did love that build, but too bad it's been killed off. So it pisses me off that that's the only thing that they have for Braver, where Braver has a bunch of other stuff. It's just mainly the fact that you're gonna risk losing Hunter for all the other stuff, and if you don't protect yourself, if you don't parry often, or if you're using bowling and you're not aware of your surroundings, then you're gonna die pretty freaking easily.
Bouncer.
Bouncer Hunter, that's fine. Bouncer Fighter, that's fine. Bouncer Summoner, that's fine. Bouncer Phantom, oh, currently that's broken. That's currently broken. But it still holds its stance, and it's still pretty good. Also, let me go back to freaking Gunner. Gunner Phantom is also pretty good because of the fact, again, higher PP, and I tend to have a lot of PP when I'm running Gunner, so I personally feel that a Gunner Phantom also works in a way. Again, higher PP, higher the damage, so it's like that kind of goes hand in hand, as well as if you use your Showtime, that's like a bit of a boost per se for a short amount of time. So that's just me. That's kind of unorthodox. That I would love to try it one day. Let's continue. That's about it.
Summoner.
Summoner Fighter, Summoner Phantom. I can't really say much for Summoner since I'm not a fan of the class and I rarely
Hero.
use it. And true. Hero. Actually, yeah, Hero. You don't. Not much you can really do. It's
And
Lego
last but not
Blitz.
least, Phantom.
Phantom. Oh, you have a successor. Class is your main class.
This is a continuation series of PSO2 videos, so make sure to stay subscribed, hit that notification bell because recently YouTube hasn't been letting anyone know when I upload, and check my Twitch, as when I move to my new place soon, I'm gonna start streaming. On that note, I hope to see you on the next one. If you're a brand new Phantasy Star...
Okay, let me just stop right there. So, again, my main deeply concern is the fact that he is not being consistent. The fact that he used so like other people's work instead of like trying to voice his do it his own way in terms of the subclass concerns me. It just screams I haven't played enough time in the game in order for me to do it myself. I remember vividly when watching it, like how can someone that hasn't played it enough, who doesn't have like high end gear or at least heading into mid game into end game, can tell us what's best? And the fact of the matter is that when newer players come in and they need help and someone gives them the video, he's gonna get views. He's probably might be making money off from it as well. But it's rather concerning because I feel like he's sending a lot of players to die. Now, as a person who has been playing for 3 years and counting, I can attest to say that I wish the builds that he mentioned in the subclass videos were true. But at the end of the day, due to how Sega has kind of been operating with the classes, it's not well. Certain builds used to be good, like Gunner Tekker, Gunner Force, and Tekker Braver, and Gunner Ranger. All these be good classes, but sadly at the end of the day, they were killed, and they're not as useful as they once were. And I really do wish that there were more ways to work with the set class. Like give us like a crap ton of like skills for us to work with, so then we don't have to keep following the same way as everyone else. If I could run with an unorthodox build, let me do that. You know, it seems much more better that way because of how the game is set up. And I do hope down in the near future, you know, they could work on that. Now, as I said, I understand that the guy has good intentions with helping people, and that's fine and good and dandy. But when you don't spend a lot of time in the game or done a lot, and you're trying to help out and you're pumping out this misinformation, it tends to greatly concern people who have played longer. As for the English community as a whole, I feel like we should do more tutorials to at least gear people up, give them proper information, proper skills, techniques, hidden texts, and whatnot to at least aid them to reach end game or at least be better at the game. If they if they're like have a Phantasy Star background or haven't played a Phantasy Star game at all. I think we should update the videos that I've seen other people has done in the past, but due to how the classes have changed greatly over the years, I think we should do more videos, more in depth. I've already done a Phantom video, and I've had reception about it saying that, you know, it gets too slow pace, it doesn't cut to the chase. And I would say I'm sorry about that because of the fact that it's not entirely my fault. I do use Adobe Adobe Premiere Pro, and it tends to lag if I'm working on a set project for a long time. So that was bad on my part. Some people were saying that the fonts were too funky, slow pacing, and I'll try to work on that. But as well as like I would like to do like a ROD tutorial eventually, but I kind of want more feedback on it. But again, I do hope. Well, what do I fear the most is that Etoile is coming soon. Etoile is coming in a few months, and they probably will give us more information about it down the line. And he might come out and just put out more misinformation about it, depending on the class, depending on it. And if he plans to make advanced stuff, I do hope he takes more consideration into he's putting into his work, as well as give him like better information. Because the way he's going about it, I just feel that he is not taking into consideration that maybe you might want to ask more, or maybe just like at least play more of the game instead of like not playing enough time and just do this, because it is a big gut wrenching when I see some of my favorite classes and I know what builds they're good for, but he doesn't state them out. He doesn't the freaking subclass. He just ripped it all from like his PSO fleet. Like, and like I said, a good chunk of them no longer exist because of how SEGAID treats it. For his main video, like what class you should play, I feel yet again just misinformation. He hasn't played enough, and why I feel that he hasn't played enough. Well, for my female character, I've only done Braver, Hunter, Phantom. But if I go to my main character, which shouldn't take too long, I will say I have played, or as well as dabbled upon, every single class that this game has to offer, one way or the other. And it does concern me that also he never bring up the fact that every time you've reached level 75 with any of the classes excluding Phantom and Hero, you get a permanent account boost. So as you can see, I've done every single class. I'm still leveling up Phantom, but I already maxed it out on my female character. As for Summoner, I'm not touching it. I don't like the gameplay, so I just did it for the account bonus. But everything else, 90. You know, I remember. Okay, so there's like one. If I recall correctly, okay, so there's like, right. So if I recall correctly, I kind of went back to when he was talking about Bouncer. There are a few fields one can adjust for that does affect the way that they do when they pump up their shields. Is pretty good for the players to get with the Bouncer to at least give them an edge in battle. But again, I still feel that it's still weird that they're giving him the given bouncer that the support role, while Tekka does have a lot more usage in terms of utility and support. But that's just me. Um I think I should end this off with this. Um Please, man, if you need help with anything in terms of PSO2 to at least gear the rest of the people um to at least be ready for 2020 April or spring, whenever it is. I don't want them to be sent to the wrong path, and I'm pretty sure other people don't either within the community. Again, I know you have good intentions, and I don't want to like send this out as an attack. I'm mostly just critiquing your work. Again, I don't mean no harm when I'm saying this. I'm just feel greatly concerned about how you're going about this. I know there was another video with MMO Bytes that reviewed about the game, but they weren't focusing towards you know, gearing people for a whenever there was a release date. You are, and that concerns quite a bit. Oh, I do want the English community to make more videos, make more tutorials. I'll do the same thing too, but I also kind of want a little bit more feedback with my with the tutorial I did for Phantom for Rifle Katana. Like I said, I would love to do another like a second part for Phantom for Rod specifically, because there's a lot more stuff for Rod, a lot of stuff. But I do need more feedback with that, and I would love to do more tutorials for other classes to the best of my ability and pump those out as well, because for all we know, they may get everything. We might get everything when 2020 releases. So this is TheRyupichu, and thank you for hearing me. This is my first time doing a video like this. I've never ever done something like this before, so I might be all going off from time to time. But I do hope you guys have a wonderful time. I know maintenance is coming, but this video might be uploaded probably after maintenance. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you and have a wonderful day.